Welcome to Paranormal Files. Each week, we dive into the mysteries of ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, and everything in between. Join us on a journey into the unknown. Let's dive in. Shadow people have intrigued and unnerved people for centuries, appearing in folklore, mythology, and modern paranormal encounters. They're described as dark, human-like figures, often appearing in peripheral vision before vanishing into thin air. The presence of shadow people often invokes an intense sense of dread or terror in those who see them, leading many to believe these entities are malevolent in nature. While most sightings are brief, some people report prolonged encounters, even interactions with these entities. Despite their simplicity in form, typically featureless black silhouettes, shadow people have a profound effect on those who experience them, and their stories span cultures and generations. Historically, shadow people have appeared in various forms across different cultures. In ancient Egypt, the concept of a shadow self, known as the khaybit, represented a part of the soul that followed each person, serving as a counterpart to their physical presence. The khaybit was considered a darker aspect of one's spiritual being, sometimes seen as a protective force, but at other times as a harbinger of misfortune. In medieval Europe, shadowy figures or dark specters were often associated with witchcraft, sorcery, or even demonic possession. These figures appeared to people who were near death or experiencing intense trauma, which linked shadow figures to the supernatural and the unknown. Over time, this archetype of dark, indistinct figures has continued to appear in folklore and mythology, reflecting society's enduring fascination and fear of the unknown and unseen. In more modern encounters, shadow people sightings often follow a specific pattern. These entities are typically seen at night, in dimly lit areas, or in moments when a person is on the edge of sleep. Witnesses describe seeing shadow people out of the corner of their eye, only for the figures to disappear upon closer inspection. Occasionally, however, people report direct encounters in which they observe shadow people head-on, sometimes for extended periods. A notable trait of these experiences is the intense feeling of terror and helplessness that people report in the presence of a shadow figure. Some witnesses describe the figures as if they were absorbing light around them, appearing darker than the night itself. There are even reports of physical sensations, like pressure on the chest or difficulty breathing, leading some to believe that shadow people could have a supernatural or otherworldly influence over those they encounter. Among the types of shadow people reported, one of the most well-known is the Hat Man. The Hat Man is described as a tall figure wearing a brimmed hat and long coat or cloak. Witnesses consistently describe this figure as malevolent, silently observing them from a distance or lurking in doorways and corners. Unlike other shadow people, who seem to disappear almost immediately, the Hat Man often lingers, almost as if studying the person. Some have suggested that the Hat Man could be a distinct entity or even a different kind of shadow being. Over time, stories of the Hat Man have spread worldwide, and his recurring appearance in stories has led many to believe that he could be a powerful entity within the realm of shadow people, with a purpose unknown to us. Other shadow people encounters describe distinct types of shadowy figures, such as the hooded figure and the crawler. The hooded figure is often seen wearing a cloak or hood, standing silently and observing its surroundings. Unlike the Hat Man, who seems focused on individuals, the hooded figure is more commonly reported standing in silence or passing through an area without interaction. Then there is the crawler, a particularly unsettling version of shadow people, known for its erratic and unsettling movements, often described as creeping along the floor or scaling walls. The crawler's movements are unnatural and grotesque, instilling a sense of dread in those who see it. The variety in shadow people sightings has led some to speculate that they may be different types or categories of entities, each with its own intentions and behaviors. The experiences people have with shadow people can sometimes have lasting effects, causing anxiety, nightmares, and a lingering feeling of being watched. For some, shadow people seem to appear repeatedly, with witnesses reporting seeing the same figure multiple times over several months or years. The recurrence of these sightings leads many to believe that shadow people could be connected to specific individuals, potentially feeding off their fear or energy. Some researchers in the paranormal community suggest that shadow people may be attracted to people experiencing heightened emotions, stress, or trauma. This link between emotional turmoil and shadow people sightings has contributed to the belief that these entities may feed off negative energy or use human emotions as a means of interaction or even sustenance. One compelling theory surrounding shadow people is their possible connection to interdimensional beings. Some believe that shadow people could be travelers from parallel dimensions, beings that exist in worlds that overlap with our own. This theory suggests that shadow people might not be aware of us in the way we perceive them, or that their occasional visibility in our world could be accidental, a brief overlap between realities. Those who support this theory suggest that shadow people might perceive us as shadow figures in their own dimension, which would explain the vague, featureless appearances that both sides might experience. The idea that shadow people could be visitors from a parallel dimension adds a complex layer to their existence, suggesting that our encounters with them could be interactions with an entirely separate reality. The presence of shadow people in popular culture has also contributed to their notoriety. Television shows, films, and online forums have spread awareness of shadow people, solidifying their place in modern paranormal lore. Stories and encounters have been documented on paranormal TV shows and shared in online forums, each one contributing to the collective understanding of these mysterious figures. In popular media, shadow people are often depicted as sinister forces, feeding on fear or symbolizing death itself. As the concept of shadow people reaches more people, the frequency of reported sightings appears to be increasing, possibly influenced by the power of suggestion and the shared fear that shadow people instill in the human imagination. Despite their growing presence in entertainment, many believe that the true nature of shadow people is far more sinister than any fictional portrayal. Ultimately, shadow people remain an enigma, whether they are spirits, interdimensional entities, or a manifestation of human fear. Shadow people continue to capture the imagination and terrify those who encounter them. Their nature, purpose, and origin remain unknown, and their unsettling presence challenges our understanding of reality and the boundaries between the seen and the unseen. Shadow people serve as a chilling reminder of the mysteries that may exist just beyond our perception, lingering in the corners of our lives and waiting to step into the light, or perhaps just close enough to remind us of the darkness that we cannot fully understand. The phenomenon endures as a modern mystery, blending the ancient with the contemporary, leaving us to wonder, what are shadow people, and why do they haunt us? The answers remain elusive, hidden in the shadows. In the realm of supernatural experiences, shadow people stand out as some of the most disturbing encounters, often impacting individuals for years after their initial sightings. Many who experience these encounters report that they aren't simply witnessing a fleeting shadow. Instead, they feel the presence of a sentient, possibly malevolent entity. Reports often describe shadow people not as mere shapes, but as figures that project a sense of intent, an intelligent awareness that creates an unsettling dynamic between observer and entity. There's often a distinct sense that shadow people are watching, studying, or even trying to communicate, though the purpose of this interaction remains unclear. This quality distinguishes shadow people from other paranormal phenomena like ghostly apparitions, which are typically seen as residual hauntings rather than conscious beings. One theory proposed by paranormal researchers is that shadow people could be manifestations of psychic energy or thought forms. In this context, a thought form is a projection of human energy, often created unknowingly by those experiencing high levels of emotional distress or mental trauma. According to this theory, intense emotions like fear, anger, or grief could generate enough psychic energy to create a separate entity, an unintended manifestation of the human mind. The idea of thought forms has roots in spiritual practices and esoteric teachings, particularly within Tibetan Buddhism, where entities called tulpas are believed to be created through focused thought and intention. If shadow people are indeed thought forms, they could be a reflection of our own inner turmoil and fears, physically manifesting in our surroundings. The theory that shadow people are born from psychic energy places the phenomenon within a framework that emphasizes the power of the human mind and its potential to create reality. Another significant perspective views shadow people as representations of ancient or archetypal symbols, deeply rooted in the collective unconscious. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow self proposes that every individual has a hidden aspect of their personality, a side that holds repressed emotions, fears, and primal instincts. Jungian psychology suggests that this shadow self can sometimes project outwardly, leading individuals to see their own psychological shadows in external forms. In this sense, shadow people could be seen as manifestations of our own repressed fears or unresolved issues, taking a physical shape that forces us to confront what we'd rather ignore. The shadow figure, in Jungian terms, represents the unknown within ourselves, surfacing when we are most vulnerable or in need of self-reflection. For those who believe in this psychological interpretation, shadow people are not independent entities, but are instead symbolic reflections of our psyche, confronting us with what we fear most. Religious perspectives on shadow people add another layer to the phenomenon, often interpreting these entities as demonic or malevolent spirits. In Christian beliefs, for example, shadowy figures have sometimes been associated with demonic forces or fallen angels, entities that feed on fear and seek to harm or deceive humans. Shadow people's frequent association with feelings of terror aligns with the idea that they could be demonic presences, taking advantage of moments of vulnerability to intimidate or corrupt. Similarly, Islamic beliefs describe shadow-like beings known as jinn that exist in an invisible realm parallel to our own. Jinn, as described in Islamic lore, are spirits that can be both benevolent and malevolent, capable of interacting with humans and influencing our emotions or actions. Some who believe in jinn think that shadow people are a specific form of these entities, manifesting to remind us of their power and to instill a sense of fear and respect for the unknown. Reports of shadow people sometimes take on an even darker tone, with some individuals claiming to experience sleep paralysis during their encounters. Sleep paralysis is a phenomenon where the body is temporarily paralyzed during the transition between sleep and wakefulness, often accompanied by vivid hallucinations and an overwhelming feeling of dread. In many cases, those experiencing sleep paralysis report seeing shadow figures looming over them, sometimes sitting on their chest or whispering incomprehensible words. This connection between sleep paralysis and shadow people has fueled theories that these entities may exploit moments of vulnerability, times when the mind is in a state between consciousness and unconsciousness. The consistency of shadow people sightings during sleep paralysis episodes has led some to speculate that they may not just be entities in our physical realm, but could exist on a different plane that intersects with our reality when we're most susceptible. Despite the various interpretations, shadow people remain one of the most compelling and unnerving subjects within the paranormal world. Whether they are manifestations of psychic energy, archetypal symbols, and they're religious entities, or visitors from a different plane, they continue to challenge our understanding of reality and our place within it. The mystery of shadow people endures, offering no clear answers and only inviting further speculation and wonder. The lore surrounding them is as rich as it is perplexing, leaving us to question what lies in the dark corners of our world and within ourselves. Some shadow people sightings are associated with a particular entity known as the Hat Man. Descriptions of the Hat Man consistently involve a tall, dark figure with a wide-brimmed hat, often accompanied by a trench coat or cloak, setting it apart from the more amorphous forms of typical shadow people. Witnesses frequently report that the Hat Man is not only darker than the shadows around it, but also that it exudes a palpable sense of malevolence. Unlike other shadow people, which might simply vanish upon being noticed, the Hat Man is often said to linger, silently observing the person it visits. Many people describe feeling frozen in fear, or even feeling that the Hat Man is feeding off this fear, amplifying the sense of unease surrounding his presence. The Hat Man has been reported across different countries and cultures, adding to the entity's mystique. Many believe that the universality of the Hat Man, Sightings of him are documented from North America to Europe, Asia, and even Africa, indicates that he may be more than a figment of individual imagination or a cultural phenomenon. Similar to how different cultures have their own versions of shadow people, the Hat Man's near-identical appearance across various accounts leads some to speculate that he is either a recurring archetype or perhaps even an entity that transcends borders and beliefs. Unlike other shadow people who often seem more fleeting, the Hat Man's consistency has left many wondering if he could be a distinct type of being with a specific purpose or agenda that involves watching or influencing those who encounter him. Another characteristic that makes the Hat Man particularly chilling is the effect he seems to have on the environments he visits. Witnesses often claim that rooms feel colder, time seems to slow, and an almost oppressive atmosphere fills the space when the Hat Man appears. This has led some paranormal enthusiasts to theorize that the Hat Man might have a stronger connection to the physical world than other shadow entities. There are reports of lights flickering, objects shifting, and even electronics malfunctioning in his presence. This phenomenon is referred to by some researchers as a poltergeist-like effect, where the Hat Man's mere presence disrupts the physical environment. It's worth noting that poltergeist activity, typically associated with ghosts or spirits, is rare in cases involving shadow people, making the Hat Man's association with such phenomena particularly unusual. A curious aspect of the Hat Man phenomenon is the impact he seems to have on those who encounter him, sometimes extending beyond the immediate experience. Many people report that after seeing the Hat Man, they experience repeated nightmares in which he reappears, leading them to feel watched even when awake. In certain cases, individuals report feeling that the Hat Man continues to follow them, manifesting in different locations, as if he has taken an active interest in them. This feeling of being marked or followed has led to speculation that the Hat Man might have a more deliberate agenda than other shadow beings, and some believe he could be linked to negative spiritual or energetic attachments. Finally, some interpret the Hat Man as a harbinger of negative events or bad luck. Several reports suggest that his appearance precedes personal tragedies or difficult times, and some believe he could be a kind of omen. In various cultures, the appearance of a shadowy figure or a dark man is believed to be a warning of impending challenges, often linked to significant life events like illness, accidents, or financial struggles. In this sense, the Hat Man aligns with ancient traditions and folklore in which mysterious figures act as forewarners of change. While skeptics argue that these associations are merely a product of fear and suggestion, those who've encountered the Hat Man are often left feeling that his appearance was more than just a fleeting encounter, and that it signaled an ominous shift in their lives. Thanks for listening to Paranormal Files. I'm your host, Zoe Parker. If you liked this episode, don't forget to follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Share this episode with your fellow paranormal enthusiasts, and be sure to connect with us on social media for behind-the-scenes content and exclusive updates. Join us next time for another exciting journey into the world of the paranormal. If you enjoyed this episode and want to dive even deeper into the world of the paranormal, consider subscribing for exclusive access to content you won't find anywhere else. As a subscriber, you'll get unreleased episodes too shocking or controversial for mainstream platforms, members-only bonus episodes, not available anywhere else, extended director's cut versions of your favorite paranormal investigations, early access to new episodes before they're released to the public, and much more. Thank you for your support. The link is in the description below. Join now.